All right, quarantine jiu-jitsu for the first time ever. Here with Master Juan Perez, Taekwondo instructor here at the Michigan Institute of Athletics. He's been with Scorpion Fighting System, going on 10 years?
10 years, yep.
Going on 10 years, nearly a brown belt in jiu-jitsu under our style. He's offered to come over today and help me with my jiu-jitsu course. We're kind of learning this as we go. I don't know what day we are into quarantine, but we're trying to modify and give our members something that they can keep training their martial arts in this isolation period, and hopefully we can open up again soon. So we're going to go over Backmount today. We're going to go over the fundamentals of the submissions that you apply from Backmount and kind of what to do in that position, so you understand what am I looking for, what is my opponent looking for, what's good, what's bad. We're going to break down as much as we can in the details to this, because we know we won't be engaging with you in real time. So is there anything else that you'd like to say before we start the video?
I'm good.
All right, awesome. So we'll start, like I said, with Backmount. We suggest you have a partner for these drills, but if not, you can always do mental study with this. You can think about your game and analyze, do I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing? And do I have those details in my game? So without further ado, let's go to Backmount. So Backmount is, anyone that knows me, here we'll slide up just a little bit. Anyone that knows me knows this is my favorite position in the game of jiu-jitsu. And the reason it's my favorite position is because it's the most advantageous position purely just based on anatomy of the body, right? When someone is behind Master Perez in a fight, he's meant to be able to turn around and fight them. You're not meant to try to fight what's behind you, okay? So I love to build beginners to have a strong backmount system, because it's a way to shut down defenses that people have acquired from a long career in grappling step by step, okay? So let's start with the basics. When I have Backmount, I want to establish a seatbelt. When I establish a seatbelt, I never want to establish a seatbelt where he wants the seatbelt to be or where it's beneficial to him. Look at how Master Perez didn't even need instruction, and he knew, I'm going to get on this hand and I'm going to immediately start shutting the position down, okay? So many people take the back and they play it like this, and I consider this to either be a very lazy Backmount or just someone that doesn't understand why the position is as effective as it is. Okay, so when I place a seatbelt on Master Perez, I want it to be buckled up tight. Look how him and I are literally locked together. I'm not here. I'm not out to the side like this. I definitely don't have my head on the wrong side. And I'm not allowing my arms to be where he is significantly stronger. If you and your partner go to this position and he fights your arms, you're going to struggle so much more than even if you just create the lock here and they try to pull the arms down. You're substantially stronger from this position. Plus, something I always have my students do. If I was to shut my eyes in this position, I can tell whether Juan's chin and neck is in danger or not. Right now, his neck is up, he's vulnerable, but maybe let's say during a wild scramble, I feel that chin pop up in the air. Instantly, I know I'm gonna punch my hand through and I'm gonna start going to the next stages of the choke, okay? If my hands are in the chest and we're going, I have no idea, is his neck in danger? Am I ready to attack? So right from the bat, you want to start with strong fundamentals, okay? With our spines, it's always a good idea to try to keep them as close to the same line as possible. Now, obviously, with me being over his shoulder, they're not an exact line. An exact line would be this, okay? But I want to create a lock. So let's go into the seatbelt, because I believe it is the most important detail in control of the back, okay? When you have your seatbelt and you're buckled up here like this, the goal of this seatbelt is to always keep pressure. If you can see this gap, one of the biggest things I see out of beginners is there's a gap between the neck and the arm. Do you feel that? Even though my hands are high, do you feel how that feels on your back?
Right.
Do you feel that space? When you start to fall to that side and you look towards me, do you feel how that creates vulnerability in the back mount? Right?
Yeah.
So because they don't recognize that, look, this seatbelt looks correct, but Master Perez can feel a massive difference on this side. Every time I seatbelt somebody, I want the bend of my arm where I can create the most compression to touch his neck. So now when he starts to move, look how we're literally locked together versus all I'm going to change is that gap. How different does that feel?
Yeah, big difference. Yep, I have plenty of room right here too.
Yes. Oh, look, you start to turn, you start to look in.
Yep.
Do the same thing right now. Start to look in, start to turn. You feel the lock?
Yep. Yes.
So if you have a back mount that you feel like people right away start shutting down your seatbelt or start creating space that's unnecessary, it might be from the bend of the arm. We need to focus on this. Notice how my hands are not low. Notice how my elbow's not out. Notice how I'm not behind him. I'm over the side that I'm going to attack. Let's start there. Okay, so nice seatbelt. Boom. Master Perez feels this is tight and strong. Okay, if I have the underhook on my left side, what that means to me is if I fall to my left side, that's going to be my dominant side for having the most submissions and be able to attack with the largest variety. There are variations when you fall to the other side that you may see in the Danaher system and in other systems, right? But I also feel like I have a substantially higher success rate at escaping on this side without taking body triangles and other things into account, okay? So let's go over the first fundamental details of a rear naked choke, and then we're gonna start building from this. And I'm doing this all, by the way, on the spot, live, no script, nothing, so I might bounce around a little bit, but the good part is you can always pause the video, you can go back, you can review details, and we'll build together. So rear naked choke, step one, I'm here like this. I've created the good lock, right? And for whatever reason, Juan's chin becomes vulnerable, right? My first step is I never try to get my hand and arm to attack. Because if you look at my elbow, notice that his chin line and my elbow are nowhere near the same line, right? And every coach says you have to line up the elbow with the chin. But a lot of people don't explain what that means. They'll be here and people go, I'm attacking. Is my elbow lined up with the chin? Not even close. So the concept has to be like I was gonna throw a right hook. When I'm here and I notice vulnerability in his neck, however it happens, and I'm gonna show you a lot of ways, I'm gonna reach with my body to create that initial hook. Look at my elbow. Now I want you to observe where my hand is. Don't leave your hand. This is gonna be a saving grace for Juan if he can get to this hand. If he can get to that hand, he has leverage, he can start to take off the lock. So when I make that initial grip, not only do I anchor the hand like this, grab and pull the hand down, Juan. First of all, that's harder, but then I cover the anchor. So now get to the anchor. It's under my chin, right? It's gonna be incredibly difficult for you to take this arm off. The next mistake that we see very often in jiu-jitsu is people will get here and then they're gonna create a lock and go to hide this hand, and that's gonna be the moment Juan is gonna try to escape, or he's gonna just control this arm. So I did everything perfect. I got this deep. I was ready to go. I go to come up here. He grabs this arm. Now you have to start all over because he has the arm that he needs to prevent the lock from escalating. Okay? So let's go back. However it takes place, Juan's chin gets exposed. I make the initial grip and I protect my investment. I just committed that I am probably going to win this fight if I can go to the next stage correctly. Okay? If you are a good jiu-jitsu practitioner, I've had extremely high-level people tap in this position by knowing how to create a correct squeeze. I don't even have a rear naked, and tap if you have to, Juan. I don't even have a rear naked choke. And Juan, anyone that has ever trained with Juan will tell you, he is incredibly difficult to strangle. He's very resilient to them. He fights well. I only had one arm wrapped around his neck. But if I can create compression in on his arteries, right, during the whole time, I've had several very high-level practitioners tap even at that point. But let's assume we can't get the tap. How do we get to the next step without losing our advantage? So we made the initial grip. We protected our investment. I can't let Juan get this arm. This hand is gonna, notice how my head, by the way, is covering the back of Juan's head. I'm never leaving this gap. This gap makes it easier for him to get my hand. Even if I'm trying to cover it, Juan reaches up, he might get the hand. If he gets the hand, he's gonna pull it down. But if I go here, he's never gonna get this hand. We're good. So how do we finish? This hand, he never sees it. I act like I'm gonna throw a punch over my shoulder, and then I'm gonna grab my trap. So we're gonna be here, right? This hand throws a punch over, and the second I did that, if you look at my right hand, it's gonna roll from his trap and back to my tricep. So here, punches across, tricep. Now, another crucial detail. Don't touch the back of the head like this. Don't turn your hand like this on the back of the head. If they can get their hand behind, they're gonna fight to take the lock off. And he's probably gonna use both hands because it's last resort. He's gonna reach up with both those hands. He's gonna yank with everything he's got to take that off. So how do we defend this from getting taken off? We've established that the seatbelt's our first lock. Securing here is our second lock. Bringing this hand over across is our next. What do? We take our head and we cover the investment again. So now I'm here. Now, no matter, even if he gets this hand, even if I let him get that hand, my head is in the way. Does that make sense? And now we got to talk about the squeeze. So I don't just sit here on Juan's back. When we talk about the squeeze for a rear naked choke, when you're first training jiu-jitsu, or if you haven't done this for a long period of time, I hate to say it, but your squeeze is probably terrible. Most people don't understand how to squeeze and compress and generate like crushing force. One of the things you'll notice when you roll with high-level grapplers is they have an unbelievable squeeze, but that takes time, right? So what I want to show, hopefully that it'll translate well on the camera, is you can't think of how your body wants to squeeze. You have to think of, why does this squeeze work? So many times people get rear naked choke, they're brand new, they're here, they got, okay, I got it locked, coach. And then I say, okay, get the tap. And they go, and they just squeeze with everything they got. What they don't realize is, although you might be increasing force on this artery, unless your bicep bulges enough that you're covering the artery on the other side, you're actually reducing force on that side. And it feels good because your back is pulling, you feel strong, but you're actually damaging the quality of your rear naked choke. So if you see when I make this rear naked choke lock, the neck is in this gap, right? This keeps the gap. You could still see light through there, right? I want to take my elbows, compress them, and use my body to like envelop my opponent. I don't want to get longer. That's like trying to tap someone with pain or discomfort. You'll get tons of beginners tapped like that. But the goal is not to beat beginners. The goal is to beat experts. So when I go here, if you watch my elbows, they're going to compress, and I'm going to crunch down like this. So their neck is in that gap. There's no gap. If I keep this squeeze, I'm going to get the finish. And one thing I always talk about, you've probably heard me say this over the years, or if not, this is one thing I always tell people with jiu-jitsu. I don't believe in ever squeezing a choke 100%. And this is why. If you do 100% squeeze on anything, you have a very high chance of burning yourself out. Try to grab anything, grab your bag, and squeeze it as hard as you can, and watch after 30 seconds what you feel like. A chokehold doesn't take this ungodly amount of pressure to put someone to sleep. Matter of fact, like, your partner could probably sit up against a wall, and if you block their arteries correctly, they'll lose consciousness. The receptors in our brain get blocked, carotid artery gets blocked, blood pressure changes. We have this response that, hey, blood pressure's changing, let's pass out, right? The blood is trapped in the brain, things are different, your body doesn't like it, you pass out. So if you don't need an extreme force, why wouldn't you squeeze 100%? The reason that I never tell my students to squeeze 100% is like a 70% squeeze. It's still absolutely enough to put your opponent to sleep. You have more than, enough pressure on both arteries to make sure that you can render them unconscious, right? And more importantly, you can hold that squeeze minutes.
Longer, yeah.
If you're conditioned, maybe 10 minutes, you could keep a 70% squeeze. You don't need to crush it, right? So one drill I actually have people do to develop their squeeze, because like I said, I might have insulted you, but if you're a white belt, you probably have a terrible squeeze. And it's not your fault. We just don't squeeze things very often, right? I don't know if you can see this on camera, but Juan, you do this with me. If you put one leg up here like this, treat this like the neck. Take your right arm, wrap as deep as you can. Make sure your head stays on the left side. Secure your tricep, go across and get your own shoulder. Your goal now should be, when you cover your investment, my temple should be able to touch my knee. So I know there's no gap. Look at, there's no way this hand can get pulled out. Now, your goal should be to crunch those elbows and squeeze as tight as you can. If you can't create pretty solid discomfort and pain on your leg, you're not really going to create the effect you need to tap high-level practitioners. Not that you won't get a blood choke. You may still get the blood choke, but you may not. And we want to develop that squeeze. We want the squeeze to be so brutal that most people tap significantly before they're actually going to go to sleep, right? It feels like the squeeze is so overbearing that it's, okay, you got me. It's not, am I going to pass out? Is there a last window I might escape? All right, so I'll have Juan rear naked choke me a couple times here so I can point out all the details. And then we'll talk about if you get your back taken, what you should be doing. Oh, and I can't forget, I should discuss the seatbelt, about why we play this style versus this style. Like I said, we might bounce around a little bit, but this is all on the fly. So Juan's got my back. He puts in a seatbelt, and again, we're going to use this seatbelt, and I'm going to explain why. I have a very, very important theory for why I play this style. Okay, I guess I can talk about it. Well, let's do the rear naked choke so we don't get off topic. He's got his seatbelt, he's got it clamped, his head's in position, he's ready to go. Whatever mistake I made that allowed the vulnerability, he goes here and he clamps the arm down and he protects his investment. This is already difficult. I would challenge you, especially if you're a higher ranking jiu-jitsu practitioner, to practice squeezing here and compressing and see if you can get the tap. You might find out that you understand squeezing well enough that you do. And anyone that's rolled with Master Perez, you understand he has an unbelievable squeeze. Okay? But, okay, for whatever reason, I'm not getting finished in this. All right? I have just enough that I'm staying alive. He goes to the next stage, punches it across, locked, head tucks down, compresses, squeeze. He's got the tap. And the beautiful thing is, this time let's have Juan squeeze at like 30%. I want you to pretend like from the second you apply a strangulation, there's a stopwatch and their time is running out. You don't got to kill it, so keep a nice easy squeeze. If I can't take this off, I'm forced to tap. He could hold that squeeze that he just applied for minutes, and yet he gets the submission. What really matters is making sure that I can't let go or I can't escape. So let's check. This, it's protected. It's on the tricep. This, behind to the shoulder. He's not on my head. If he made the mistake on my head and was here, I might be able to get that hand and free myself. But when he's here and his head goes down, I can't free this. I can't free this. He applies like a 40%. Match is over. Makes sense? So every step of the way, your goal should be, how do I move to a position of more advantage than where I started? How do I keep that advantage? And then how do I continue to progress until the point where there's a submission? So one talk that I kind of do a lot for the way that I want people to think about jiu-jitsu is I like to teach jiu-jitsu that doesn't require a lot of mistakes. I like teaching jiu-jitsu where you create so you and your partner start very even. You securing back mount already gives you a major advantage over them. And then the goal from the time you take someone's back and you establish your position is to get little steps in the direction where you're getting further and further ahead between you and your partner. And the way you do that is shutting down arms, controlling their back, getting that initial grip in. All these ways create a bigger separation. And once that separation gets to such an extreme, that's where the submission takes place. It's not like you're just rolling and then someone gets submitted. That happens a lot at the lower level. But if you want to master jiu-jitsu, you have to understand, how do I, going against someone at an elite level, systematically shut down each one of their options to force the submission. So like I said, backmount's one of my specialties, and any of my students would relay that information, that the way I play a backmount game, you don't have to make a single error to be submitted. It's a step-by-step death process until you're to the point where you have to tap and then go again. It's not like Juan messed up. It's not like a triangle choke where, okay, when he touched my knee, I would bump his arm through and get the choke. Because then the moment he stops touching my knee, there's no setup for that. There's no triangle choke. That entire thing I just taught you is useless. I don't like to teach jiu-jitsu that requires mistakes. I like teaching jiu-jitsu that's a systematic process to shut things down. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about offense. Then I'll have Juan ask any questions that he can think of, because maybe you guys at home are thinking about like maybe why this or that. And then we'll go to defenses. And then we're going to talk about a short choke. So when you can't get the rear naked choke, how to attack a short choke. And then we'll talk about defenses to that. And that'll be our first day of backmount class. So the last thing I want to cover is why our seatbelt. Okay, so when I have Master Perez's back and I'm here, right, back in the day, the seatbelt was taught, and still in many academies, the seatbelt was taught like this, okay? And the idea was you were protecting your attack, which I understand. I'm here, I don't want him to control this arm, so I want to protect it. I don't believe in or use that system, and I'm going to explain why. When I make this type of grip, Juan is free to decide how he wants to use his hands to try to attack. And although he can't get to the bottom arm all the way because my hand's in the way, he is free to do what he wants with his arms. I don't like that theory. I don't like my two arms against your two arms. Why? Because it's too even. The goal in my jiu-jitsu is to make it so that you are at disadvantage, okay? So when I play the seatbelt style I do, anytime, leave your arm down for a second just so I can do, anytime when I'm here like this, my left hand is waiting at all points to take away your hand. And I'm not like this, because he could manipulate this hand to work to break the grip. I'm like this. So he can't manipulate that hand very well, right? And he'd be better off trying to worry about what's coming after him. And if at any point this hand comes into the picture, I'm going to immediately disable it with this arm. I'm going to never allow this to take place. When someone defensively is able to get their opposite arm on my choke arm, I consider me failing in the back mount position. And the reason for that is not only, like I said, I'm sitting here waiting for it. I shouldn't let it happen. But his leverage is meant to win the battle from this side. I'm going to where he's strong. Does that make sense? Versus if I take this away and I start to attack and he has to fight with that arm, he's at a significantly worse advantage just on leverage. Okay? And as we progress with these classes, I never even wait. When I take someone's back, I immediately go to my strong side and I immediately disable this arm. You'll never see me sit like this. Okay? But just for demonstration purposes, while we're learning the game, you should practice doing a simple game where the person's hands are down by their legs, and you're here, and then Juan's goal is with this hand to grab this arm. Go. You don't let them do that. They don't get to, they always lose this battle. And if you lose it and he gets that hand, your goal should be to immediately pummel and go back to here. We don't want to allow people with their defensive arm to have this. This is such a big advantage for Master Perez. Okay, so start with the basic stuff. Start with a proper seat belt. Fill in this gap. See this? No. Yes. He goes to bring the hand up. Doesn't get to. He loses this. And notice that I don't put it close. I've seen a lot of people that when they get that hand, they'll go like this because they want to keep their grip. He's still right there. He might be able to fight in and still get a grip and support. We don't want that. I want his hand. This hand is not even in the fight. There's a war going on in Michigan right here, and this is down in Ohio. That's what we want, okay? So last time on the rear naked choke, and then we'll cover the basic back mount defense. So I'm here like this. I was here. Maybe he brought his hand up. I take it away. I make the initial wrap. Do you see how far I brought this elbow? Not this. Elbow. And I protect my investment. Master Perez, with your right arm, take that investment off. It's going to be a nightmare. Do you see how, at just on an anatomy level, how difficult it is to try with this hand to scratch the middle of your back?
Yep.
You're at such a disadvantage. So the moment I make that take place and I protect that, now there's only one thing I need to do successfully. And notice that my head is tight. I don't even care. Sometimes he'll grab this arm and he'll pull. It doesn't bother me at all at this point. I need to get my hand out. I need to punch across and I need to get to here. And now, and like I said, I would normally drop my head all the way down, but I'm just for the camera's sake leaving it here. My investment's protected. He can reach up and fight and get to either hand. He's not going to be able to disengage the lock. So my elbows start to compress together. I start to squeeze down, and it's a done deal. About a 6-second window is the average, 6 to 8 seconds. They'll be completely unconscious. So when I start to apply a squeeze, I imagine in my brain there's a timer ticking down. And I always like to think of 8 seconds in case some people are just hard to choke. You're running into people that are just difficult to strangle, right? And let's not argue semantics. Technically, these are not choke holds because you're not stopping airflow. It is a strangulation, but just do the technique. Be successful. Don't argue semantics. Okay, so the goal is create a strangulation that he cannot take off before that timer runs out. But there's a big importance on when you squeeze, you can't adjust your squeeze. You've probably rolled with people that they might actually even have you in a position where like you might think you have to tap and then they don't know if they got it or not because you're kind of playing and then they readjust and then they try to squeeze again. What that does is two things. Not only does it, that quick moment where I loosen the locks, that gives him a perfect window to try to either mount a defense or escape, and it resets the timer. When I adjust that, your blood gets a fresh rush. You know what I mean? So maybe you had him down, they were gonna tap in 2 seconds. And now you went to adjust your squeeze and now that timer starts all over. It's better to understand why does jiu-jitsu work and trust your squeeze. Even if I barely squeeze, I don't squeeze hard at all. I'm like, Master, I'm not squeezing hard. I'm just gonna keep a steady strangulation. I'm barely squeezing. I could squeeze that. I could squeeze like that for a half hour, right? But it's why does it work? And if we can think about jiu-jitsu like that, we're gonna be extremely successful. Okay, so we'll switch this real quick and then we'll talk about an escape. And I'm gonna adjust the camera a little bit down just in case, because we'll be a little bit lower. Let me see if that looks good. Yep, okay, Master Perez has my back and we're gonna cover, first of all, like how not to have this happen to you. So, as you notice, he's doing everything correct now. He has a really nice pressure on this side. See how when I even just try to look my neck, we're connected. If he creates a gap here, look at this. You see how you didn't turn me on? That right there is a detail that I can't tell you how often is missing. I walk around to my students and I usually just put my hand right in that gap. Okay? This gap is crucial. When that's tight, look at this. Loosen that a tiny bit. Loosen this a tiny bit. You see the difference? That's massive. You have to fix this. Okay? His elbows are tight. He has his arms in defensive position. My first step, obviously I have to get on the hands, but I want to get onto the side where he's trying to strangle me, right? So again, and especially when they don't have a body triangle or some type of lower body control established yet. The second my back gets taken, I'm going to connect to the hand that is attacking me. Okay, here like this. My elbows stay tight. I don't want to be like this. I'm significantly weaker than if I'm going like this, like trying to engage my core. Once I get there, I'm going to lay on the arm that wants to strangle me. So I'm going to do this in a way that I hope the camera can see. But I'm going to go here like this, and I'm going to put weight on this arm. Okay, I'm not going to be like this. Master Perez, do you feel this?
Yep.
Right? If I was to let go of his arm, he can wrap this deep around my throat still. He can apply the choke. He can force the tap. Right? Watch the difference when he, so go back to a good seatbelt so it's nice and tight. Nice and tight, here like this, and I lay on the arm. Even if I let go, wrap deep around my neck, just like you did. Why is it difficult?
No, because you have top of your neck.
Yeah, I'm laying on his arm. I have all my weight on this arm. So not only is this making it difficult, attack around my neck, it's hard, right?
Yep.
Go ahead. It's effortless, right?
Yep.
So not only is this going to make it difficult, I'm creating a clamp and I'm laying on his bicep. I'm trying to, like, if you could see my body weight, right? My weight is on his leg and it's on the arm. Now at this point here, I double up with the hand. So if he has this nice and tight, I'm here, okay? Now what do I have to do? I have to win the lower body fight. I've successfully started my defense, but I have to win this, all right? If their ankles are crossed, which so many beginners do, your bottom foot will go over and you'll triangle the feet. If I start to push my hips, I can snap the feet so I know that the feet aren't going to be locked, or if they are, I'm not worried about it. So since the feet are not locked, here's another common mistake that we see. People leave their weight on the ground and the hook is sticky. So when I go to move, you can leave it on the leg. When I go to move, right, see how the hook doesn't fall off? This takes place very often in jiu-jitsu. If I put my weight on the leg, keep the hook in, like don't let it fall out. If I put my weight on the leg, because Juan's thigh is pinned to the ground, when I hard hip bump, it forces the hook off. If I keep my weight on the floor and I turn, you see how he can keep the squeeze? That happens constantly, right? So let's turn you a little bit just so they can see. We're here. I got the back taken, right? Slide over. Got the back taken. He's got it super tight, right? I feel no gap. Soon as I lay down, I'm here. I'm creating the first part of the lock. It's already difficult. Even if I let go, it's hard for Juan to strangle me, right? I then go here. My elbows aren't up. I'm like, everything I got, right? My weight cannot be on my leg and it can't be on the ground. It has to be on Master Perez's leg. Feel how your leg is carrying my weight? Yep. So now, even though he wants to keep this hook, he knows he has to keep this hook in. I'm gonna hard hip bump. Now I'm gonna be out. Now the second step is I move my left foot in and I'm gonna move my hip over the legs and then I'm gonna turn up and in to come up on top. Okay, so last time with this, Master Perez has my back. He's got a beautiful seatbelt, super tight. I'm looking towards him. I always tell my students, as you fall down, face your problems. He's the problem. If I look this way, I actually help him strangle me. Face your problem. Okay, so I'm here like this. I double up the hands. My weight is where? It's on the thigh. Feel that tight? Pop. As soon as I pop over, I walk over the leg, and you're going to see this left elbow get heavy. And I'm going to come up. And now I'm up on top. Make sense? Last time. Remember, face your problems in life. Right? I'll scoot back a little bit so when we fall, they can see us. Face your problems, right? He's the problem. If I look that way, I'm going to get strangled. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to face the problem. I'm here like this. I have all the details. Elbows are tight. I'm laying on the leg. If the feet cross, we attack the feet. They don't cross. Over. Hip moves up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to attack. Okay, before we go to short choke, any questions that you can think of that maybe somebody at home watching the video, whether defensively, whether offensively, just anything that you can think to ask.
How important is to lean to fall on the side that you choke?
Okay,
the arm
that's a
is gonna
really,
choke.
really good question. So, there's escapes that you can do on both sides. You can escape on the underhook side and you can escape on the choke side. But for the theory that I'm teaching, when I fall to the underhook side, there's no pressure or any type of way to slow the offense. He can choose whenever. You see how there's nothing restricting that arm's motion, right? Mm-hmm. So most beginners, if this happens, they're going to get finished anyway, right? You don't have the understanding well enough to like win the head fight and do different techniques or like use your feet to disable hooks, things like this. That comes with time. So initially, when you're first building your jiu-jitsu, it's so much easier, okay? He got me here. This is your biggest threat, right? And if I go to this side, he can armbar me on this side. If I was here, you could switch up and yeah, I could get armbar on this side. If I go to this side, you can't.
Yep.
So not only you can't trap arm on, so many of the options that higher level people will expose your weaknesses with take place on the underhook side. I don't want you to have those options. Now, a great person in jiu-jitsu can strangle you both sides. They don't matter. But when you're a beginner, let's cut down what they can do and let's get good at stopping those options. So again, he has everything tight. Oh, and one detail I want to point out. Juan wants to pull me to this side. This is good for Juan. Like I said, he can armbar me. He can trap my arm. He can go here. He can do the trap arm rear naked choke. Take this away. I try to strangle you. Swing this under. Kick your right leg up. Boom. And now I lose this arm. All these take place here, okay? And I know I want to fall onto the arm. But how do I win that battle? Is it just a game of he tries to throw his weight that way and I try to... No, I have a little trick that I just thought I'll top my head back up just a tiny bit so you can see. If you watch my left foot, the second I get my back taken, my foot goes here. Pull me to this side. You see that lever I have? If I'm here like this and Juan can, now I'm in big danger, right? But the second I realize like I got my back taken, I go like this. So now when he yanks and pulls to that side, I have a planted position. I look towards and I get to the side I want. Now it's difficult to pull me back up. And there are ways, there's retaking processes, but we've shut down a lot of attack. So our weight is on the leg, he's trying to strangle, right? And like I said, if I keep my weight good, it's very difficult. You could go and get out. And I didn't even control the arms, okay? That was a really good question. Yeah. That foot trick is way sneakier than you think.
Oh yeah.
Huge. Because, and like if you're a high level grappler, you should add that to your game because whether you win or lose could be as simple as, do I tilt you to this side and now you're in my world? Or do you get to where you problems? When he starts looking towards me, look how badly the elbow and the chin are disaligned. You see that? Mm-hmm. They're not even close. If he goes to this side and he looks to the right, he's just asking to be strangled. Plus, people that have a great crush, they'll go right here. They don't care, and they'll just crush your neck. The more you can look as hard as you can towards them, you see how it's going to be nearly impossible to get this unless I get that deep hand, which all of your focus will go to hip escaping and to defending the arm. Okay? Any other questions you can think of?
No, I'm thinking, what else is...
So one last time, and I guess we'll review this quickly, and if Juan can think of any other questions with that. If not, we'll cover the short choke. So again, everything we've taught today is you have your back mount, your shoulder is on the opposite side as that you're going to attack. When you go here, touch their neck. Get with your partner, leave the gap there. Okay, see how they feel. See, look how easily, you notice how his neck and his upper body can swivel, and I don't move with him? That is bad jiu-jitsu. Good jiu-jitsu is when I create that lock, he moves. Look we're connected, okay? Why is this hand open? Because it's defensive. I don't have the hand here where he can pull this arm down and shut me. There goes my number one weapon for defense, okay? I cover it, and I either go get that arm immediately, or the second this arm tries to come into the fight, I'm taking it from him. I don't care about matching up right on right. I'm at a better position for leverage than you are. And if I can't get the hand deep, I can go into my short chokes and other weapons, okay? But this, if you get this, you have a big advantage, especially if Juan knows to clamp this elbow. plant this elbow really tight. He can actually control both of my arms with one. He can shut down this because I can't successfully attack, and then all my effort has to be to get him to let go of that arm. Okay? But if he leaves this elbow open, right, and I can pull it out, then I can start switching and looking for other attacks. So you need to understand the importance of this can't happen. When I'm grappling, if I'm on someone's back and they touch that, it's just, oh, I just did bad jiu-jitsu. I actually grab it. I try to punch my hand away from my chest so I can bring this hand over to cure myself of what I did. And I'm probably mad at myself later on for allowing that to happen. Okay, so what we covered, the rear naked choke. Here, you do the rear naked choke to me. The great rear naked choke, and I can point out the details. He had my back. He had the beautiful seatbelt in position. Look at this, nice, tight. He's got this tight. His head's in position. This is bad for me, okay? And your hooks don't need to be tensed. They can just be nice and relaxed. They're ready to work when they need to work, but you don't want to be burning yourself out, okay? So immediately on his reach, he notices my chin comes up. He's gonna go, yes, look at that elbow line. He secures. Don't squeeze tight so I don't pass out during this part because you have a great squeeze. Go back one step. Notice when he's here, it's already so difficult. I can't touch Juan's fingers, and I'm flexible. I can't touch his fingers. So from here, he goes over, he seals, lock number 1, lock number 2, lock number 3. He gives me a 70% squeeze. And remember, his elbow's in, his body envelops. It's game over. Start that timer in your head. If you adjust, you're resetting that timer. You're making yourself have to do all that work again. That could be either the end of your fight or it could be the reason you fail. So don't reset your timer, okay? Defensively, one more time real quick. He's got my back. We're here like this. Remember, as soon as I get my back taken, I don't want to get to that side. And we'll go into why later. He gets me there, I'm in a world of trouble. Unless I choose to go to that side, I don't ever want to be there, okay? And there are some people that I will go to that side on. Here, watch my left foot. Right there, right? But my hands have the job first. Here, he pulls me to that side. No, he doesn't. I'm never letting that happen. As I fall, all my weight is gonna drop onto there, and I'm gonna create pressure on that arm. Okay, he's not able to strangle me, even if I let go. This looks silly, but Juan can feel the pressure. You feel, Juan?
Yep.
Right, and now, weights on the leg. Hit, over, up, control, up on top, ready to attack. Try that with your partners. If you have any questions, you can always inbox me. Ask me, James, why this, why that. Let's cover short chokes real quick and we'll wrap up our first class. So, Juan and I have been grappling long enough that he recognizes that he has a hard time getting me with the short choke, with the rear naked choke. Before he can start to mount those deep, effective hooks, if I'm already shutting him down, that's where a short choke is a phenomenal option. Okay, I'm going to show the short choke first, and then I'm going to have Juan doing it to me, and then I'm going to show you defensive concept. Okay, so with the short choke, I'll sit up so you guys can see easier. The concept of this is a strangulation and a crush, a rear naked choke. Okay, but it requires you to get that initial deep grip. If we can't get that, it's very hard to rear naked choke somebody, right? So with that being said, people developed that if we can use our cutter, this bone of our wrist right here, and I can place it on the neck, I can attack here. This is gonna be a crush, this is gonna be pain, this is gonna be super uncomfortable, and the arteries do look like a stethoscope. They come from the outside and they do meet down in the middle. Sometimes you can actually blood choke and put the person to sleep here, but more often than not, they tap significantly before the blood choke just due to the crush, okay? So again, you'll notice my head will be here. You're never gonna apply a short choke like this, or like this, or like this. He's gonna have space and there's just too many gaps. Think about everything is a goal to prevent movement. You're trying to lock him into the whatever situation you have and then create a crush or a squeeze that he can't stop. That's our goal, okay? So I couldn't get the initial grip. My hand is gonna go here, okay? I'm gonna have it and I'm not gonna squeeze tight just so you'll just tap so I don't have to crush, okay? Here like this, I'm gonna act like I'm serving a tray of food to someone, okay? So my elbow is gonna be a lever anchored behind his back and I'm gonna serve Juan a tray. So I'm here, I'm like this, okay? If I leave my right elbow down, this squeeze is not nearly as bad. Now, if I have a good squeeze from here with the lock, I can get the tap here. Yeah, for sure. And I was still squeezing very lightly. But if I elevate this and I engage my right shoulder forward like this, it'll be 10 times worse than what you just saw. And that's a detail I feel like a lot of people miss is they'll get here and they'll squeeze, or what'll happen is like they'll squeeze so hard they'll do this. You see how you're at that point, you might as well just pull your arm through and go rear naked choke. If you want a short choke, the concept should be when I get here, look at my right elbow comes up, and then my right shoulder is engaging. I have a gable grip, right shoulder engaging, and then when I barely move my hand, it's gonna be a tap. Like before I even start to squeeze, the pressures, I'm trying to do this gently out of just pure respect for Master Perez, but the pressure is so overwhelming. People panic tap from this. If you've ever felt me do this to you, you remember, okay? So again, one thing that I covered really well there is if I'm here, if you're not gonna get your short choke, just rip your arm deep and you can go right, look, the hand will just roll over. You have a rear naked choke. Anytime your hands are together, I am see my shoulder? I am attacking to try to finish you, but if I feel for any reason I'm not gonna get it, I'm gonna rip that hand deep, which is gonna line the elbow up, and then I'm gonna do this. Now I have a perfect rear naked choke. I'm gonna have Master Perez demonstrate so I can show you all the details to this, and then we're gonna talk about what do we do if someone's gonna crush our neck, okay? So we're here, like this. Master Perez couldn't get that deep grip he was looking for, so he puts the blade right of that cutter here, and he's gonna keep the wrist turned down here so it's mainly the bone. If you allow your hand to turn, see how this is the soft spot? I want that blade to be the cutter. His head is wedged over. He's gonna engage the elbow up while rolling his shoulder forward, and then, yeah, and he hasn't even started to apply the squeeze, and I almost had to stop. Okay, so as the elbow comes up, the shoulder, it's a done deal. Okay, and it's such a crush. Feels like my Adam's apple is about to explode, and Master Perez is barely squeezing. Okay, so now with this, if you had this grip, and let's say that I was just ruining your ability to get a good squeeze, you can rip that hand deep, and now punch over, perfect rear naked, elbows deep. Got it, right? Because it's connected. Just pull it. As you pull it, line up the elbow. So we're here, show me a perfect short choke. Here, engage, roll forward. Done deal. Okay, he's got his hands connected. What does he do? Yep, over the top, slide, rear naked. Okay, last detail of today's class. I got my back taken. My partner wants to short choke me. Okay, it's no good. I'm gonna show you the perfect time to escape from a short choke. So we're gonna start from a seatbelt. I'm gonna show you how I do this in a regular match. Seatbelt. Okay, remember my step one was what? Left foot's gotta react, hands gotta react. Step one. So now, however my opponent set this up, as I was going down, he starts going short choke. This is gonna take place. You have a very small window. If he pulls this back, fight's over, right? So when is that window that we escape? I'm gonna show you, okay? And I do this to a lot of high-level practitioners because it's all about timing. This underhook allows him to control a quadrant of my body. When he pulls this arm out to connect to that short choke, is my chest controlled? It's not. I'm just physically in front of him and he has my neck. I'm gonna take advantage of that window. Go back one to the seatbelt. So we were in a grappling match. This happened. We're gonna go slow here so they understand. As soon as I see how that arm came out, see how my shoulder's not controlled? Watch this. I'm gonna tuck that elbow. I'm gonna turn up and in. Okay? But you have to do it quickly because otherwise he's gonna apply that crush. If he can connect his hands, you can promise yourself that he's trying to snap your Adam's apple in half, right? Your esophagus is done for, okay? So we're gonna show this like super slow motion and then we'll do it like a regular. So we're here. I hope you guys can see this well. First step, watch my hands and my foot react at the same time. Okay, I'm doing this. Why? I don't want to get pulled to that side. As I start to pull down, Juan says, I'm switching. Is my upper body controlled? Tuck, turn, we're out. So actually, if you understand this mechanic well, they're trading the most dominant position in jiu-jitsu they're gonna end up on their back and guard because they got greedy and went for the submission. The time to apply a short choke is not out of a reaction when someone does something right, it's during a fight. Like I'm hand fighting, and then Juan notices his window and he can't get the rear naked choke and now he just slaps on a short choke. Pop this out, there, got it. That's the time to short choke someone. If you're the defensive person, you wanna play that reaction out of them. So when I got my back taken, as soon as I went here and Juan's like, short choke, I'm like, whoop, there we go. I'm out and I'm up on top. If you learn to time that window, it's a very high success rate. Because again, they trade control, right? Seatbelt is control. They trade control for the attempt at a submission. You need to think about it as the second that control is gone, that's your window. You got to go immediately. We're going to do a slow motion once. You probably haven't even done this one before, but we're going to do it on the spot.
Yeah.
So think about this. So when we're first here, I took Juan's back. I had everything nice and tight. He's in danger. If I'm a good grappler, Juan is in danger. Immediately, both of his hands come up on top. Notice he goes to the side. Now, if I don't react, he just keeps his weight on my leg. He pops his hips over. He escapes. No problem. But I'm greedy. And I said, you're not going to escape my back mount. I'm going to short choke you, okay? He's going to take advantage of that greed. And we're going to go slow motion, so hopefully you at home can practice this. You're here, okay? Super slow motion. He grabs the hand. What does his foot do? Okay? He starts to drive down. I go, no, he's starting to get out. The second I trade this and I go to come for the short choke, there's no upper body control. He flares, turns up and in, all the way in, all the way up on top, and bang. Now we're in the guard. I just traded the best position in jiu-jitsu for being on my back in the guard because he took my greed, my attempt at that submission. I want you to think about it this way. I shouldn't be going on Juan's terms. If I wanted to attack a short choke, it should be on my terms. We should be hand fighting, and maybe for a second I bump an arm down or anything, and then I go, okay, my time to attack. This is not me attacking. This is me reacting to his movement, and then he is playing on that reaction. Okay, so here we start to go down, right? I'm like, no, he's starting to create space. I take the hand out, he spins, I have no upper body control. Now I'm in the guard. Makes sense? Always make decisions when you want to make them. To be a high-level grappler, you don't want to be playing the other person's game. Yep. And as you're going to the side, if I react to that and try to force this short choke out of desperation, that's bad jiu-jitsu. It would be better for me to just keep the seatbelt. And if you would get over the leg, maybe do a retaking procedure, like to get my hooks back in, but not trade the last bit of control that I have for that submission attempt. It doesn't make sense. Okay, it would be better if, let's say I went seatbelt, right? I went seatbelt and Juan dropped to the side and we're here. I don't go with that. And you know what? I can't stop him get over my leg. He does the weight, he gets over. It would be better from here for me to pop up and look to retake and start to attack again. Right? It would be better to try to reestablish my position than desperately attempt. And I will go to how to do retakes and things like that. But a seatbelt on itself is still phenomenal control. Even if, come back real quick.
You just took my question.
Oh, yeah, like what to do? Yeah, and Juan tried to spin into me. He didn't know what I was going to do there, and I just stayed with it. Even a seatbelt itself, let's say he gets all the way over my legs. If I can keep my chest engaged, right? He can't turn into me, right? His arm is still stuck. So even if he moves his hips away from me, move your hips further away, keep going. Do you see how his arm is still stuck? I can use that space to bring my legs back into the fight. But if I trade that seatbelt at such a pivotal moment, that's where Master Perez would escape. Does that make sense? And so many people, you almost can't help it because you're on the person's back, and in your mind, especially if they're better than you, right? You're like, oh my God, I got Backmount. This is my moment. So as he starts to go down, you're like, I gotta get him now. You just handed away the escape. You gave away the position, right? Instead, think about if they're getting out of the position, reestablish. Start fresh. Start from the beginning. Disable their defenses and then attack. Don't go because you think you're losing something. If you're losing a position, why would that be the right time to throw a submission? If you're losing a position, that's the time to reestablish the position, then attack. Does that make sense? And there are some situations in jiu-jitsu where during an escape, it is the right time to attack. But you have to calculate that decision. If you're just reacting because, oh, I'm about to lose, I gotta try to submit. No, keep the position. You still have a perfect seatbelt. If I have a perfect seatbelt, why wouldn't I use that seatbelt to reestablish my position? Maybe get him back to the underhook side that I wanted. If you notice when I just did that kind of in a quick motion, I took him to where I wanted to be. So if I was on his back, let's just go slow through this whole thing so that they can understand the point I'm about to make. If I go here like this, and Juan gets to the side, no, don't go to the side that I want you on. So look, Juan does everything right. He gets over my leg, I can't stop him. He goes over. If I try to short choke right now, he's gone. Right, so I just keep this pressure. He keeps moving, he keeps turning. We're not going anywhere. I'm stuck. I don't want to try to come up yet. When I feel that it's my time, so maybe he's turning out, he's turning in, just keep biting a little bit. Here, he's stuck. When it's my time, I'll tuck and I'll come back up. And now watch this. I only have one hook in, right? I'm gonna fall to the side I wanna be on. I'm gonna take away his hand, and then now I'm here. I just traded almost losing a position to being in the most dominant spot that I can be in to then finish this match, instead of trying to throw a desperate submission and allowing my opponent to escape. I feel like we've covered a lot of good stuff today.
Oh, yeah, we did.
There's gonna be a lot to review, a lot to cover. And again, there's no script to this. Juan and I made this decision earlier today. We're in quarantine here with, it's while the whole world tries to solve this COVID thing. And we're gonna just put these videos together. If you have questions, ask them to me. I'm gonna have Juan try to ask as many questions that he can think of that a student in Jiu-Jitsu might ask. And I hope you enjoy these videos. We're probably going more in depth than what a lot of people will want. But you can always skip forward. You can always take a little segment and just drill that. Start with the basics.
Maybe by the next class we can review it quickly, and then we can go through.
You know what? We can show it like a flow system. Hey, last class we taught this. By this point, you should add this drilling. You're going to take their back. They're going to go to the side. They're going to pop out. They're going to go here. Then we're going to do it again. You're going to go here, and this time they're going to switch to a short choke, and then they're going to bump out. That would be a great idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That'd be a really good Master Perez, throwing all the good ideas out here. So if you can train your brain in that way, that it's systematic, it's a process, you'll have great results. Like he just thought of that on the spot, but think about this. If I wanted Juan to rep the defensive mechanics, you would just do this. You would do a two-part system. You'd have him, so I got your back, Juan, right? Juan would do the correct defense where he gets on the hand and he immediately throws his left foot up, so I can't pull him aside. He's gonna pull me down, and this time I'm not gonna try to short choke. He's gonna bump over my leg. He's gonna turn up and in. He's gonna end up on top. That's gonna be drill number one. And maybe you do that 10, 15, 20 times, depending on how many times you wanna rep that. The second time, your partner will adjust. And I'll say, okay, when you're falling to the side, I'm gonna attack the short choke. You're gonna recognize that switch, and that's your moment to turn in. Why? Because I no longer have this arm controlled, right? Because I'm reacting. I'm trying to say, I need to get something, right? So when I initially had Juan's back, right, I have a seatbelt. This is control. The second he throws the foot up, he goes to the side. When we start getting here, the second my left hand comes out, I have forfeit that control in for a submission attempt. He's gonna pop his back, he's gonna spin up and in, and now he's out. And if you rep those two processes over and over and over, you'll become extremely successful. The other thing I would tell people is, and this is probably the same in Taekwondo, slow things down. Yeah. Speed does not matter. It would be better if you want to master jiu-jitsu as well as I can teach you, when someone had your back, if you broke it into this big of a process. The second I get my back taken, you should just practice having your partner try to pull you to the left while you go, pull, reset, same thing. As soon as I say go, pull me, go. Reset, go. Master that first. Just start there. Once you can do that, okay. You've taken out, well, coach, what's going to happen when I'm over here? Well, there's a lot that's going to happen. There's a lot of things that he's going to do to you that is going to create all kind of problems for you. And it takes a higher level of understanding. So step one, if you watch today's class, would be master this. Makes sense? The next step is drop to the side, get weight here, and get weight here. Once you've done that, face your problems. Face your problems. I would stop right here. I wouldn't even go from here. I practice letting go of this arm and having them try to strangle you. And practice keeping this weight. Even relaxing my upper body makes it easier. You feel the difference? Keeping this tight creates like a locking effect, and it's hard. You should get comfortable being here. Let your partner try to strangle you, because you know if they take this arm out, you're going to get out. Right? So get comfortable here. Be like, oh, I don't care. I'm going to sip some tea and know that I'm not going to get submitted unless he starts punching me in the face, okay? So once you're comfortable here, then you have to solve the hook, okay? And if you keep your weight on the ground, right, you won't solve the hook. So go back to your seatbelt, right? If I keep my weight on my ground, see how the foot sticks? You have to learn how to keep your weight on, so keep this in. Keep your weight on the leg. Juan just tried to keep that in, right? He tried to make me look bad on camera. Here, you see? Just practice that. Once you get here, practice facing your problems. Let him try to choke you. Oh, I can't choke you. Okay. Then what's the next step? Juan doesn't want that hook to pop off. I'm making it. Then you should practice coming over and winning this fight to get to the top. Right? That is what high-level jiu-jitsu is made of. And if you can get comfortable in every step of the way, okay, no problem. They take my back, comfortable. We end up there, comfortable. I have a hook, comfortable. If you can think of your jiu-jitsu like that, you don't run in those periods where you don't know what to do, your defense is quickly failing, and like the game is shutting down because you've broken it so much into steps that you're comfortable each step of the way. You know what I mean? Instead of it being one process that's a little overwhelming, you're trying, you know, in your brain, you're worried about this, you're worried about this, you got to get to the side, you got to go here, you got to go here, you have to do all these things at once. It's not that. It's much simpler than that. It's, what's the first thing? I don't want to get pulled to that side, and I don't want you to be able to strangle me. So I'm going to focus on your arm. I'm going to get my foot up. Okay, what's the next thing? I want to get weight on the arm so I'm hard to strangle, and I want to get weight on the leg. Why? So the hook's not as hard to deal with. Then why do I face him? Because his number one step is to line up his elbow with my chin. So I want to face him to make that as difficult as possible, right? Now, he might go short choke. The second he pulls that arm, or if he goes rear naked, because like in the Danaher system, when they land the arm, the person tries to go rear naked. It's the same exact concept. When they remove that arm, whether they're going here or they're going here, right? That's your moment to turn in. That's your moment to say, oh, you let go of that arm, I'm out of here. Make sense? Break it down to that much of a science. And your offense. Take my back. When you're doing a rear naked choke, you should not practice having someone's back, having a perfect seatbelt, everything's tight. You shouldn't practice like just do a quick rear naked choke. Go real quick. Just do it. That won't make you good at jiu-jitsu.
No.
You'll get okay.
You get okay, but you have to break it down.
Yes.
Take
The second you take a back, you should be tight in this, head really tight here, and step one is like, don't let this left hand touch your right arm. Every time I try, you should take it, reset. You know, you guys could play games. You could go like that, so go back to your seatbelt, right? Maybe I get this, or he gets to say go, and when he does, I'm gonna try to grab his hand, he's gonna try to stop me. Go. You see? And if you can learn to win that battle, now you've taken away that threat. Now from that point, you should practice getting that deep grip where you line up, you grab their back, don't try to choke them, try to see if they can take this lock off. And if I go to bring this hand in, why don't you take it away? I go to bring this hand in, take it away. I go to bring this hand in, look how weak I am. Practice. If Juan knows when I get here, there's nothing James can do. Now he's good at jiu-jitsu. So then the vital point is when he pops this out, he's got to make sure I can't get it. He's got it. Then stay here. Don't even strangle them. Take all the pressure out. Take all the pressure away, Juan, so you don't put me to sleep. But practice staying here. See if they can take the hand off. See if they can move the head. See if they turn, if it removes the lock. Then practice squeezing as lightly as you can and just keeping the window. That's mastery of jiu-jitsu. Does that make sense? So the thing to think about is, if you want to master any type of science, you have to think about, at the simplest level, why does it work? If you can learn to think like that for your jiu-jitsu, you'll become, you know, my level, you'll become way better than me. You can go as far as you want with jiu-jitsu. There's an old Einstein quote that I used to bring up during my classes, and he said, and I use it for coaching references, he said, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. Yeah. And that's the concept that we should try to do as teachers and as students. Take a complex thing. Like all the information you just learned today, there's so much that we just taught in this period. It's complex. If you showed this information to a brand new person, it's a lot to take in. Take that complexity, break it into individual steps, and be able to answer the question, why? Don't ever take my word on something. If I tell you to secure my back, you have to know why. If you don't know why, ask why. Well, that's the anchor. That's where I can't secure. Why does your head go down? Because that covers it. I tried to give analogies throughout to make you remember, face your problems. But if you don't understand why, if you just do it because I told you to do it, your jiu-jitsu is going to be only as good as your coach. If you can learn jiu-jitsu in the way of, I understand every step of the way why I'm doing what I'm doing, that's where you can master jiu-jitsu. Anything else you can think of today? Any questions? Anything you can think?
No. Well, you touch a good point about how I have to reach all the way back, right? And have a grip on shoulder. That way I can line my elbow with the
chin.
chin. Yeah. So
100%, because if you guys can think about it like this, in the bend of Juan's arm is where the maximum crush is generated. For every degree that his elbow starts to shift to the side, although I might still get a good clamp from this side, I lose clamp on this side, right? So my choke is desperately weaker for each like few degrees. And a lot of coaches, they say line up with the elbow with the chin, but they don't explain how. We don't reach with our arm. Do you see my elbow? You have to act like you're throwing a hook. Yeah, like I'm trying to pivot a hook, like I'm trying to knock somebody out when I throw that. My seatbelt's here, I don't do this. This would be a terrible rear naked choke. Honestly, when I'm grappling, my only fight is if I can get the hand deep behind the back. If I can get the hand deep behind the back, I believe I'll finish anybody that I'm grappling.
even with one hand.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll get the choke with
Just
one. The key, it's not being able to do this, guys. It's not the rear naked choke. It's securing a massive detail that's hard to take away. So that initial grip, you'll never see me do this. Plus, this is my arm. How hard is it to resist the pressure of my arm attacking? I want to use my body. I want to punch that grip so deep, I almost punch you with my bicep. Ha! And now I have this, and I don't leave my hand there, I cover it. I'm like this. Go ahead, pull that hand off. Not only are you at a desperate disadvantage on leverage, you're halfway dead at that point. I already have a strangulation on you. I'm ready to attack at any moment. And instantly, I've made a huge leap in the advantage that I have over you. Yes, I had a position initially that is much stronger for me than you, but you weren't in immediate danger. The second I apply that grip, like you felt when I started to squeeze, and Juan is extremely hard to choke. The second I have that grip, you're tick-tock. The window is closing. So then all of a sudden it creates desperation out of most people. And from that desperation, it almost makes it easier to submit you, right? So if you're rolling with an elite person, it's not the submission that gets you. It's that you lost the first battle. You allowed this to happen. The second you allow that, it's probably game over if they're good enough, right? So you want to think about your game like that. Don't even worry about getting to a rear naked choke. Worry about getting to those pivotal moments. Worry about having a great initial grip. If you can do that, you can be excellent at jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Break it down just since the beginning. See grip, head tight, ear to ear, right? Shoulder tight. Then you have then you're secure right there. Then from there, if they're trying to attack this arm, you secure the other arm, right? And from there, if they give you a little bit of space, right, you just try to get that grip all the way in, line it up, and from there, that's going to be
100%. That's probably the end. If you're against a good grappler, that's probably the end. Yeah. So as a partner, if you want to help the person that's doing jiu-jitsu with you, try to find those mistakes. If I was on Juan's back and I think in my mind that I'm doing it correctly, like I think, okay, I watched James's video, this is the seatbelt. Juan instantly, you feel that how bad that's missing?
Yep.
Juan can say, there's space here. You have to fix this space. If we start drilling like this and just go, well, let's just pretend like we're two white belts right now. So I'm just going to go through a rear naked choke. Well, I'm here, okay, coach said like wrap this. Here, you're not going to beat good people. If you don't start with fixing the little details, you'll never beat good people. So if I place a seatbelt on my partner like this, all of you should see countless errors. My elbow's out of position, my hands are in the wrong position, my head is too far back, my chest is not tucked up. These things are all flaws. So the moment I go here, don't advance. Don't rear naked choke each other. Like if he left his chin up and didn't put any defense, I could do any technique and probably squeezing and my partner will tap. But if you want to master something, the first seatbelt should be like this. Juan, does that feel tight? Turn a little bit. Instantly, Juan knows, like, I'm in danger. When I make that next grip, he knows, like, I can bully him, right? Every step of the way is crucial. If you have a partner that's willing to consider what's being said and try to take the information and look for any gap you can search for, it's going to help your game progress. I mean, this is a huge shout out. I give a shout out to Brian Fornacero. Him and I, he was one of my first students back in the day when it was me, you, Brian, Joe, a couple other people. We trained so much, and I was incredibly hard on him about every single detail matters. Your hand, I'm just using this for an example. This isn't for this technique. If I said, don't grab like this, grab like this. Anytime that I felt that, I would make him stop, reset, and go start all over. We need this grip.
Yeah.
The difference between something like this and this is massive when you put all the details together. The difference between a seatbelt with that gap, when I put the seatbelt on you correctly, you instantly feel I'm in serious danger. I relieve any space, oh, no problem. If I drop my hands the tiniest bit in your chest, we are so much stronger here than we are here, right? So we want to think about things like this. Try to find a partner that wants to grow with you. If you want to get amazing at jiu-jitsu or any martial art or any practice in life, you almost have to want to fall in love with the art. Falling in love with the art means understanding all of the details and variables that make it, our closest version of perfect. And we all have variations. We all have different ways that we do things. I have certain things that I do different than other people. But what you need to be able to do is, can you explain why you're doing them? Can you systematically put that together? Does it shut down defense of high-level opponents? And can we apply this on a regular basis? So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this was a great start. So this was mastering the basic concept for a rear naked choke, a short choke, and the elements of defense and escape. And I could go far off on a tangent further into these things, but this is probably an hour video at this point.
Probably.
And if you guys love this, then maybe I'll just keep this content going and let's have an army of black belts in here. Let's have, I'm a guy that taught myself jiu-jitsu and for years because of that. But it's just science, guys. You could teach yourself mathematics without an instructor. You have to learn, why does something work? Why can it be proven to be true? And you have to be willing to go through trial and error and change when something is not functional. So jiu-jitsu is always evolving. What we know now and the way we do things now is incredibly different than when I started in 2004. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting this academy. This is an incredibly difficult time. I mean, I'm literally fighting for my livelihood and to keep this place in business. This is, my life's work, my passion, everything in this building. Juan is in the same boat as me. We're truly, everything's on the line here, guys. So we're going to try to give you our best. And all we ask is, you give us your best in return. And let's do this as a team. So thank you guys for tuning in. Scorpion Fighting System, Brighton, Michigan, the Michigan Institute of Athletics. Check us out online, instituteofathletics.com. If you're interested in any martial art, if you're interested in Taekwondo, if you're in fitness, if you have children that you want to get in for discipline, for growth, for anything, come and see us. We give you a free week when we reopen. And, we're here for you. We believe in this community. We believe in the power of martial arts. We believe in the impact that it can have. And, I know what it's personally done for me in my life, and I'm sure you would attest to the same details.
Yep.
And, again, just thank you guys so much. James Gray, Master Juan Perez.
Thank you
for tuning in.